Welcome to Adventure Freaks, a podcast on living abroad on a budget.
All right, so today we are in Costa Rica with my new friend Joshua Wittman, and Joshua is a father. You're a father of how many?
Four.
Four
I have
kids.
two stepchildren, 10 and 12,
That
and two younger sons, 2 and 4.
that is so awesome, man, to have the whole family down in Costa Rica. That is terrific. You're a former educator, so you've traveled the world, you've taught overseas, and now
Yeah.
you're into real estate, and you're a real estate, pretty much an educator, and helping people locate and find real estate in hotels. And I'll let you talk about that more. And I know you have two links: make Costa Rica home.com and buying hotels Costa Rica.com. And we're going to put that at the end of the podcast, so anybody that needs to find you can find you and reach out if they want to need any additional information. So thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so let me just quickly pull up a map so that we could show everybody where Costa Rica is. So here's the map. You're in Central America. For people in the United States, we're well familiar with Costa Rica because it's probably been, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I'd say it's probably the most popular destination to visit in Central America. Would you say that's correct?
We're seeing our numbers. We're in third place for actually we just passed Brazil if we're looking at tourism traffic, even south of Panama into South America. Canada and Mexico beat us in tourism.
Wow. Okay.
And we used to be neck and neck with Puerto Rico, the island over in the Caribbean, south of Florida. But yeah, we're really becoming our own. We're a destination for ecotourism, especially exploring the jungle. We have 2 coasts, so there's tons of world-renowned surfing. Actually, we've had some phenomenal surfers coming out of our country, competing in different world competitions and Olympics for surfing as well. But there's an incredible amount of biodiversity in Costa Rica as well. So you can explore. I mean, it's the size of Virginia. You're from Virginia, aren't you, Ray?
Yes, I am. Yep.
And so it's a very small surface area, but we have 7, if I'm not wrong, there could be more, 7 volcanoes and 2 coastlines. So the amount of diversity that we have in terms of flora and fauna, plants and animals, waterfalls and rivers, estuaries and mangroves. We just have so much to explore. I mean, I've been living here almost 7 years now, and I've barely cracked the surface of exploring. While we're still looking at this map, I can kind of give you where my journey has kind of started.
Okay.
So I arrived in January 2016. I flew here with my best bud from Gonzaga University, where I went to school. Stephen Morrissey and I, we arrived in San Jose, and we were just backpackers. We were looking to travel on a budget and to have a crazy adventure, and didn't we? We went north to Guanacaste, which is the northernmost region. If you want to zoom closer to Nicaragua, there's an international airport in Liberia, which is to the west coast.
Okay.
And we explored Tamarindo, Playas del Coco before we crossed into Nicaragua. And we actually made it all the way to El Salvador before we parted ways. We were hitchhiking, taking buses. We were the risk factor. A lot of people, including our parents, looked at us and said, "Are you sure you want to be doing this?" It was one of those in your 20s. Let's throw all risk out the window.
Yeah.
Um, I came back to Costa Rica because while we were in Playas del Coco, I sat in on a job interview for an international school there that I decided to take the role in. It was an incredibly trying year. In fact, halfway through the year, I remember calling my father and saying, "Dad, I gotta quit." And he said, "You signed a year contract. Are you really going to quit this year contract? You've never quit anything in your life." And I said,
Yeah.
"All right, fine. You're right. I'll stick it out." 2 months later, I met my wife on the beach. Miranda's from Toronto. She's been living here now over 11 years. Her second born was born here. And she moved down here with I think Dax was 9 months old, and she was on leave. So she had 1 year from the Canadian government pay for her previous job to come down here and live on. And so she created her own businesses. She started a little boutique shop where she initially started making jewelry and t-shirts, and then that expanded into local products of clothes and jewelry.
Mm.
Then there was a local calling for her to open and give yoga lessons. She was a former ballerina, so she's always been incredible with movement. And so the niches really chose her.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've had similar experience where arriving here with no plan, then finding this international school. Then once I met her, I was on the cusp of, well, I'll finish this year, but then I'll go back to the US. And this is the Lord telling me I am no longer supposed to be a teacher. That year was so trying. I was teaching first through ninth grade math and science. So
Uh-huh.
I was the math teacher for 100 kids of 10 different grades.
What type of school was it? An international?
It was an international private school,
Right.
so
Okay.
they ran on an American curriculum,
Gotcha.
um, but the administration was not top, which I didn't notice until a couple of months in, where it was, I need support and I can't get it. But Miranda had started her own homeschool collective for her two children. We had been dating, and that was totally my passion. So she said, "Well, why don't you stay here? We continue to figure out if this romance is a good match," which it obviously
Yeah.
is. But it was my dream to start my own school. And originally I was thinking it would be an outdoor school. I've always, as a math and science teacher, looked to how can I create these topics, which are usually heavy in rote memorization and what you can't remember, maybe you can have a cheat sheet and copy down on a note card for the test. How can I take that into a real life experience? How can I make this be experiential learning or truly interesting?
Yeah.
And so it turned into, how can I make a school of this? And so we started Niños del Sol Eco School, which are Children of the Sun
Mm.
Eco School. And eco is kind of one of those green words, but we had an epiphany. Eco should be in our name because it stands for something: earth, community, and ocean, eco.
Mm-hmm.
And we were 2 minutes from Playa Ocotal, which is just next to Playa del Coco.
Mm-hmm.
And so twice a week, we would take our 3 to 12-year-olds snorkeling or exploring the tide pools there, becoming familiar with the ocean. And very quickly, I was able to tailor those lessons to um, an experience that focused on on academics. And so in the morning, we would always start with a morning meditation in our garden. If we weren't at the ocean after that, we were working in the garden, doing compost, planting plants. We have 2 growing seasons here in Costa Rica. There's never winter, there's just more or less rain. And then in the afternoons, when it got ungodly hot, we would go inside and we would apply, under the grace of the air conditioners, we would apply the academics to what we were seeing in the earth or the community or the ocean. And then, really, I should say the earth or the ocean. And then we would take that amalgamation of those two experiences, what we're learning in a book and applying outside and vice versa, to the community. And so every quarter or more frequent, we would take those lessons or presentations and we would do some type of activity with our neighbors or with community organizations, getting 12-year-olds into restaurants, showing them that there's much more to an education than just sit down, shut up, copy these notes, and prepare for the test. So we ran that for 4 years, and then I was headhunted by Country Day School here in San Jose. They offered to match our school budget for my salary, plus paid for teacher housing. And that's pretty typical for international schools.
Yeah.
So I had a long conversation with my wife. She continued to run the school. She was 5 months pregnant. And I moved 6 hours south to San Jose, taking a bus twice a weekend to go be with my family, before I came back here solo to work in the school. And that put us on running a passion project and not making any savings to, okay, now we're more financially stable. By the end of 2019, we had the long talk. Do we want to continue this pattern, or should we move the whole family to the Central Valley or San Jose, which is kind of surrounded by mountains here? It's a much more temperate climate as well. It usually doesn't get over 90, and it usually doesn't drop below 70. So it's a very comfortable climate here.
Sure.
And we also have all of the amenities. We have theaters, we have malls, we have great hospitals, we have shopping centers. I'm sure you're familiar with Costco. We have Costco here in the Central Valley.
Oh.
So it's a very comfortable means of living. So we closed the school at the end of the school year, Latin American school year of 2019 in December. And what happened in March of 2020? The doom of all small businesses. And I was on a 2-year contract with Country Day School with teacher paid housing. So we really dodged a bullet there by graces that be.
Yeah.
And then it turned into, well, now what? Because I'm sitting at home, surrounded by my children and family. We're homeschooling with all of the materials that we didn't sell at the school. And we have a lot more free time. So I started a side hustle, getting into real estate. I had several friends that kind of nudged me into that direction. Seeing my talents is education, and seeing an investment opportunity here in a developing country, which I like to call a first world developing country. We have a very stable political system. We have very strong international diplomacy. So the soil is very rich here for investment opportunities. Anybody that is an entrepreneur that wants to move here can start a business, hire, or run it themselves. And if you are of an entrepreneurial mindset, you can find great success here. A couple of opportunities would be in hospitality industry. I'm seeing huge opportunities right now in the automotive industry, used car sales and car rentals especially. And there's many others that if any of your listeners want to get on the phone with me, we can have a consultation of what might be the best fit for making a living in Costa Rica. But in our side hustle, we created Make Costa Rica Home because that was really what our experience was. And so that brand, or makecostaricahome.com, is really focused on a one-stop shop of how to and where to. So we focus on relocation services. We focus on rental and purchase or sale real estate. And we have developed a network for legal. So if you have questions with residency process, we can help you there. If you have questions with how to buy real estate or how to buy a car, or really anything that would fall under the umbrella of making Costa Rica home, we have created that on our website and with their services that we connect our clients to. But the biggest question that we have continuously bumped into with making Costa Rica home is, well, what about an income? What kind of job can I get in Costa Rica? And unless you have children in Costa Rica or you become a citizen, which is a decade-long process, you cannot hold a job. You can't, quote unquote, take a job from a Costa Rican. You can start businesses though.
Sure.
And so there is the opportunity that I see Costa Rica is inviting to their borders, is who can assist us in the development of this country.
Hmm.
You'll drive around, and a decade ago, only 30% of our roads were paved roads.
Hmm.
Now that's closer to 75 or 80%.
Oh,
And
wow.
if we're to go back and look at that map, that sounds, wow, that sounds really, really low. But remember, the majority, I would say, of our country is populated by farmers and fishermen.
Hmm.
Half of the population is within the Central Valley, and so obviously here we have paved roads. But as soon as you get out of the Central Valley, unless it's a major highway going to a tourist destination, it's going to be dirt roads or gravel roads, even up to the schools and little clinics in those
Sure.
towns.
Yeah, yeah.
So what can an entrepreneur do in those areas? Well, a lot of the previous generations are getting old. Their kids don't want to be running the fishing boats or the cattle farms or the sugar plantations anymore. So they're for sale. And so there's a buyer's market here for investing in real estate.
Hmm.
And not only that, over the last 3 decades, there was a huge wave of um, retiring or early retiring expats, especially from Europe and North America, who came here to start hotels. And
Hmm.
so that's really where I have found my niche, is in the hotel industry, or specifically hospitality industry, which is anywhere from the spectrum of short-term vacation rentals. So you have a 6-bedroom home with a beach view or beach access,
Hmm.
to the big $100 million investment
Hmm.
opportunity. Um, and so I've created consultants for. I have one of my partners. He ran the Fiesta Resort, which was 1,000 guests a day. He is now retired from that after working as the general manager there for 21 years. And he sits on my board looking at any hotel or investment opportunity that we see, and he gives it the green light, or we need to wait and get more information on this,
Hmm.
or offer them consulting to improve their operations so we can then put it in front of an investor. We also work with operators. So we have a short list of operators that we can put in front of an investor who is inexperienced or uninterested in operating their hotel themselves. And then we would have those operators bring in their team, look at the bones of the real estate, see what they could do with it, and then they would make the presentation to the investor. They would then have a venture partnership where they would work between themselves what kind of structure they would want to engage in this investment.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously we still have the retirees, or now even the young bucks who just made $1 million on GameStop or Bitcoin during those bull runs, and they want to try their hand at retiring on the beach and sipping margaritas while their employees run their hotel house hack
Yeah, yeah.
behind, which is kind of a fantasy. A lot of my time is spent having qualification phone calls on concept with my clients. What can we do to really vet the operations that they want to do there? And typically it's, well, how can we write higher for them to make sure that their investment is successful?
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people are moving here with $500,000 and they want to have a 20% annual return. And although that's possible, it's difficult to analyze the market here. And the main reason is we don't have an MLS. So if you're familiar with real estate in North America,
Yeah,
the MLS is, oh, I'm so jealous.
yeah, yeah,
Multiple listing service, for those
yeah.
listeners that don't know what an MLS is. It's basically a platform where you can get online and you can look at when was the last sale or sales of that property. What did it sell
Right.
for? and what are comparables selling for as
Right.
well. We don't have anything like that
And you
here.
can gauge exactly what areas are really hot and where housing is really moving and where it's kind of slow or not moving so well.
Right. Oh, and really to that point, what's the fair market value of that real estate?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
here, the fair market value is whatever the owner seems to think is fair. And
Hmm.
so I have a tongue-in-cheek saying everything in Costa Rica is for sale at the right price.
Sure. Yeah.
But the right price is very disparaged between what the buyer is willing to put on the table and what the seller is willing to listen to. And
Right.
so that again is where I think my talent as an educator comes in, is I am constantly having educational conversations with sellers saying, well, how can you sell this 20-acre farm for $5 million when you have hot springs coming out of it in this 100 square foot plot and you have 11 rooms of a hotel? It's operating probably at a cap rate, valuing it at 1.5 million tops, probably just under $1 million.
Sure.
So how
Yeah.
can you be asking for 5 million? Well, it's because the price per square meter of my whole property times
Yeah.
X value makes it 5 million. So there isn't a lot of education going on in real estate in general. And then the flip side of that coin is anybody can be an agent.
Right.
Agent. I don't use the trademark realtor. Anybody
Hey,
can be a real estate agent in Costa Rica.
so yeah, Josh, that's what I was going to ask you next. Can anybody be a real estate agent? Is there a process to go through in Costa Rica to be licensed as the real estate agent?
So we're at a point right now where the cream of the crop is rising to the top, and everybody else is developing a name of being the rebate realtor. And by that, I mean people who do lead generation for buyers. They list houses, they do rentals, they do land, they do commercial real estate. They're trying to do everything, and they're incredibly hungry at it as well. Um, it's really important to, whatever you're doing in a business, know your market, right? And so, short answer to your question is yes, anybody can be an agent. There is no
Okay.
licensing procedure to be able to do so. Really, all you need to close on a property here is a good lawyer.
Gotcha.
And I really want to emphasize the good lawyer piece of that. I have run several businesses in Costa Rica, and a good lawyer is hard to come by.
Hmm.
I have two. I have two lawyers from two different firms that I would recommend. One was my personal lawyer that we found after 5 years in Playas del Coco, trying to so many different firms, trying to just register our school and cut through the red tape that you can imagine of trying to start a school in a foreign country.
Hmm.
Um, and then now my commercial legal team, who really focus on, well, they assist us with our relocation services. So they're who I would refer you to if you're looking to get a residency application pushed through.
Hmm.
Um, but basically, problems that we have with lawyers are they overcharge and they underdeliver, specifically with response time and getting work done. They'll send you the bill before they get the work done, and then they'll send you another bill before they've even finished the work for the first thing.
Sure.
Um,
Okay.
so the legal side of that can be a headache, and there is a dark side to certain legal teams here as well, where they'll put their name on something, and then when you're not looking, they'll take your property from you. Um, so it's been a learning process over these last. We've been property owners for the last decade now. Miranda purchased her first property in 2012, I believe.
Where
Uh,
where did you purchase at?
that first property was in Playas del Coco. It
Okay.
was on a hillside with ocean view. We were hoping to develop it into a theater and actually we wanted 3 vacation rentals, 1 studio and 2 2-bedroom units,
Yeah.
each with their own jacuzzi. And then we were expecting to have like a yoga deck and infinity pool at the very top of the property. It was a very inclined property.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we we were called out of Cocoa, and so we sold that property, and we've moved on to other ventures now. Um, I think the next thing that I'm going to put some capital to is the automotive industry.
Hmm.
Um, there is a serious demand for car rentals, and there is incredibly low inventory. The major reason for that is during the pandemic, nobody was, I mean, our borders were closed for 8 months. They literally
Mm-hmm.
shut down the airports. I'm sure you are familiar with that as well.
Yeah.
Just tourism stopped in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so the car rental, even like Budget and Adobe, the big name brands, they sold their fleets and
Mm-hmm.
they kept very low inventory. Um, but it's been tough, as I'm sure you're familiar with the chip shortage. It's been tough getting new cars.
Yeah.
So there is a shortage now of car rental.
Mm-hmm.
So I am focused in this next quarter starting my own mini fleet. I'm considering 3 to 5 cars that I'll purchase used, rent them for 5 months, pay down half of the principal with those rentals. You can rent a Toyota Prado, which costs about $75,000 here, for $2,000 a week.
Really?
Yes, and they'll
Wow.
fly off your lot. They'll fly off your lot. You can't keep them.
Where are the people coming from that can afford that? Are they just moving there from all over the place, or just
Well, these are short-term vacationers, right? So they're
gotcha?
coming
Okay.
here, they got a cheap flight, they want to stay in a $300 a night place, and they can drop $2,000 for a car, which is a 4x4, which their Airbnb says, rightfully so, that they need so they can get up to their ocean view cabin with 6 bedrooms and an awesome pool, and then get down to the beach in 5 to 8 minutes.
Yeah. Let me ask you
You
this, Josh.
can't do that in a sedan.
Can you finance in Costa Rica, or is it all cash? Is
That's a great question. For the if you have lower capital, I don't think that financing is something you should consider. Lower capital is really under 150,000.
Mhm.
There are hard money loans. You need to establish yourself for financing in Costa Rica.
Okay.
So that's first residency. You need to show the banks that you're not going anywhere. And then you also need to show $5,000 a month income for them to seriously consider you financing.
Okay.
Um, 5 years ago, these rates sounded exorbitantly high, but they are hovering around 7.5 to 8.5% APR.
Okay.
That is not a fixed rate. And usually you're not locking in something for a 25 or 30-year term. Hard money loans also can help you close on something. It's a land of opportunity for investment properties.
Gotcha.
It's not a real estate bubble like we have in North America, where you should move here and buy your second home and your salary can cover the financing.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a possibility, but you need to be prepared to pay 10 to 12% on a hard money loan with a 50% LTV, loan to value ratio.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Now, you're in do you connect people with rentals too? And if so, what are rentals going for? For somebody that wants to come, they're considering moving to Costa Rica, they want to go check it out, they need a flat to rent. What can they find a flat for? What are the ranges?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really boils down to what is your lifestyle choice. If you're looking for a studio and an off the beaten path, a little pueblo, farm town, you can find something for $300 a month. You
Uh-huh.
really can. But the majority of the roads in that town are going to be dirt. You're probably riding a bicycle around. You can have decent internet in these towns. Don't get
Okay.
me wrong. There are going to be power surges, so it's going to feel more of that developing country feel. But to be honest, Ray, I would really recommend your single listeners, or if they have a significant other but they're interested in a cultural adventure, Costa Rica's community here is so tightly knit that a smile, we like to say, a smile goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for a country that is stable and safe, and you're interested in having one of those backpacker type experiences, move here on a tourist visa. It doesn't cost you anything to get a tourist visa.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to show your exit plane ticket or bus ticket in 90 days,
Yep.
and then move to a little pueblo. We can identify a couple of those places for you, and then go there and practice your Spanish
Mm.
and become a tico, or what
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
call a Costa Rican,
Sure. Yeah.
uh, and really become a part of the Costa Rican community.
Mm.
Today is a national holiday. It's the annexation of Nicoya, where Nicoya decided to become their own independent country from Nicaragua. Well, I should say state, and considered to join Costa Rica. And so they began writing letters to the Costa Rican government in San Jose. This was back in the 1860s. Shoot.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
your Costa Rican listeners are gonna get on me for this. Um, my history lesson. But really, there the sense of community, of family, of social security here is one of the best of any country that I've lived or visited in the world.
Mm.
It's just so. Um, how can I help you? How can it? Here's a great example. In the United States, if you need to talk to your neighbor about something, that conversation happens in the driveway,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe you ring their doorbell. It doesn't matter what kind of, hey, you need to trim your lawn, the weeds are getting high, or hey, we're having a block party this weekend and you're invited. That conversation is going to happen in the driveway,
Mm-hmm.
typically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With your neighbor. Here, it doesn't matter if it's the first time I've met you or not. We're neighbors. You're inviting me in for a cup of coffee, and we're sitting at your dining room table, and we're having a conversation first about your family, and then, okay, what's up? And that conversation is going to take an hour at least. And
Mm.
they're going to offer you food, and they're going to offer you everything. That is the sense of community here in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
It is just, we are all a family. We are all a part of the pueblo. We are a true community here,
Mm-hmm.
which I find really it's just so gracious to be a part of a community like that, especially as an American,
Sure.
where in the United States it's so individualistic.
It
This
is.
is
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
property, my ideals, my mindset. Don't interrupt me. Don't question how I'm thinking. Not to say that Costa Ricans are conflictual, because really they are non-confrontational.
Yeah.
There's a joke that the Costa Rican is two-sided, because to their family or close friends, they'll speak their mind, but to complete strangers, I mean, there is no arguing,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
There are no political, or I should say dogmatic, um, arguments here.
Yeah.
It's really, any kind of argument is, how can we make our community a better place?
Yeah.
And so you do get people that complain, oh, this person's driving too fast, or this person endangered these families. But there is a strong sense of security for children, for the elderly, and for keeping that tight-knit community feel.
Yeah. It just sounds like a very warm, welcoming
It
world that
really
you're
is.
you're living in.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So let's go into so we talked about that you can find a $300 studio. If you're looking at the capital, You're looking in and around the capital. What can you get a studio of 1 bedroom for there?
A 1 bedroom near San Jose, the San Jose airport probably is going to go around 500.
Okay.
Uh, Again, it's what lifestyle are you looking for? Do you need to
Sure.
have a pool? Do you feel more secure in a gated community? The gated community that we live in right here, you can get a 3 bedroom for 800, and that's furnished. That's
Oh,
easy.
wow.
We
Yeah.
we live in a townhouse right now. We're moving in a month. Um, and the kids are just getting bigger. We can't live in a 3 bedroom anymore. We have all 4 kids in 2 bunk beds in the master bedroom.
Right, right.
Um, um, we have a 3 bedroom townhouse, 1,000 square foot home. We pay $750 a month. We furnished it ourselves.
Wow.
And it's in a double gated community right off the highway, very tranquil, wonderful neighbors. We have a community pool right out front of our house, with a park, and there's 200 townhouses in this gated community. There are 8 gated communities within the macro community. It's called Con Casa,
Okay.
um, with house.
With house, yeah.
If you're translating that, Con Casa, which actually isn't where it came from. It's built out of concrete, so it's concrete house.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Um, but we like to joke that mi casa, su casa, con casa.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Costa Rica gets this bad rap sometimes of being an expensive Latin American country, but I think that comes from just not doing your research and looking at the expensive outliers. So, where would those be? The high foot traffic tourist locations. So, we're looking at first and foremost Tamarindo and Guanacaste,
Mhm.
where it's an hour and a half, 2 hours from the Liberia International Airport. Amazing surfing and just a very well developed town. Um, Playa Flamingo, which is just 20 minutes north of Tamarindo. It has a brand new marina there. And so there's a lot of um, high end luxury shops that are going in. I mean, big yachts and cruise ships are moving in there. So there's obviously more demand for Tamarindo. And so a 2 bedroom in Tamarindo is going to run you between 800 and 1,500 a month.
Gotcha.
Um, and if we're looking at vacation rentals, so people who are coming here for a week, I mean, you can double or triple those prices,
Hmm.
bring them down to nightly or weekly rate. And then if we're looking at high season versus low season, we can again double or triple those prices.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, we have this very broad spectrum of price ranges here. But
Yeah.
remember, the majority of Costa Ricans, of the 6.5 million people that live here, they're living on $600 a month for their
Right.
family, their household. That's their
Yeah.
GDP for their household.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, the average teacher's salary, which I was very familiar with, is $850 a month.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, the wages here don't allow food to get exorbitantly expensive, or we will be having uh, strikes. We call them huelgas,
Yeah. Yeah.
where different sectors of the pueblo, or the Costa Rican community, will take to the streets and block public highways and wave their signs. Again, Costa Ricans are not confrontational, so we don't have riots like we saw in Portland, Oregon a couple of years ago. But
Hmm.
we do have public dissent that keeps the government, so to speak, in check.
Sure.
And there is a very lively political conversation that happens here, to the point where our last presidential election, we had 26 political parties running for president.
Wow.
26.
Yeah.
So imagine how long the debates really took for that. It was
Yeah.
spread over a 4-month period of just giving each person a time to discuss.
Hmm.
Uh, Getting back to your question though, cost of living, the best place to consider, especially here in the Central Valley, go to our website, makecostaricahome.com/lifestyle calculator. And there you can see how much health insurance costs, how much living expenses, food, and we have different ranges and spectrums for you to click through of what kind of lifestyle choices you're looking for.
Gotcha.
And that can give you a bottom line conservative number for you to consider. Are you going to be in the lifestyle choice of under $1,000 a month and you're not going to be paying for health insurance, or you're not going to have a car, you're going to be eating rice and beans? Or are you looking for your own private pool and you have a family that you're going to be sending your kids to school? Even your school expenses is a spectrum. We have 4 kids, 2 of whom are going half day, 2 of whom are in 4th and 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And we're spending $1,000 a month total
Yeah.
for a
Wow.
private school. And that's a former educator, very alternative, very strict, high expectations for my children's education.
Sure.
I'm in love with this school. They have 700 students that go to this school. It's on a 30-acre campus. They refurbished a paper factory,
Mm-hmm.
a paper mill, and turned it into classrooms. I mean, imagine these big warehouses. They put false ceilings and classrooms in, but they have robotics labs. They have a permaculture mandala garden. They have an organic market
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
restaurant. And the students
Wow.
participate in all of these
Yeah,
things.
well, that sounds like a lot like the same kind of school that you started.
Very aligned with Niños del Sol Eco
Yeah.
School.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me ask
Yeah.
you this. You touched on healthcare. That's always important for people to understand. How much is healthcare there? And is the healthcare, is it a quality healthcare, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I would argue one of the best in Central and South America, especially here in the Central Valley. However, we have high tourist developing zones that I would imagine in the next 3 to 5 years. There's a brand new hospital going in down in Uvita. There's another one in La Fortuna, which is in the Central Mountain, just north, about 2 hours north of San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Tamarindo, they're putting in clinics and a brand new hospital as well. And then even up closer to the airport, there are great clinics.
Yeah.
Um,
What's the
medic,
cost? What is the cost if you were to do you,
it's public.
it is public.
The majority of these clinics are public, and so you can go in and pay a nominal fee, or if you are a resident, you show your CAHA, which is Social Security and medical card, that you're either paying an annual, annual for your wage that you're paying taxes on,
Mm-hmm.
or monthly, and you show that, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything.
Okay.
There
It's
may
kind of like a
be
national health care, kind of like Canada, would you say? Or
much more aligned with what's going on in Canada.
okay.
Absolutely. That being said, there is phenomenal private healthcare as well here. And that's one of our tourist niches, especially for dental care. It is cheaper to buy a ticket, pay $1,000 a month for a 2-bedroom, fully furnished place, and your dental bill than it is to pay a dentist in the United States to get your teeth fixed. I'm not talking about cleaning. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
serious surgery. But you come down here for a month, you tour around, you go beaches, do etc. Then you have 10 days for your surgery, and it's all going to be a less of a cost than the bill in the United States. So we have
Yeah.
a lot of people, even just coming into our little residential neighborhood here, that we have a couple of dentists who operate, and they
Yeah.
own another house right next to them, and they have their clients stay at that house and go to their clinic. So it's very affordable healthcare,
Yeah.
depending on what you're looking for. And we have everything available. I mean, we have specialists in urology for your senior citizens who need to keep, you know, their cancer and their excretory systems in check. We have very good pediatric medicine. And I mean, it's very easy on our information hub, another page on our website. We have a link to the College of Doctors, and so it's very easy to see if you have a medical need. You can find a private or public doctor, and start having a conversation with them before you decide, yeah, Costa Rica is where I want to make home.
Yeah, I did. It's your and that's at Make Costa Rica Home. All of these resources are there. Make
Yeah,
Costa Rica home.com.
that's
That's a
right.
great resource, man. You put a lot of effort into that. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
that's been a major focus for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Is we've been following a good place to make connections. It's also a terrible place to be a newbie on, but it's on Facebook.
Hmm.
Um, Again, it's kind of this gauntlet of moving out of the noise of North America and into the pura vida of Costa Rica.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of expat page groups and pages on Facebook that I would recommend if you're trying to connect with people. I mean, first and foremost, connect with myself or Miranda, my wife, and we can point you in the right directions. There are several Facebook pages that are well administered, but you get a lot of trolls on some of these expat pages that you ask a medical or a cost of living question and people start making fun of you or laughing at you. And it's kind of just one of those, come on, why? I think some people are operating under an idea that there isn't enough room in Costa Rica for everybody to move here, and so
Yeah.
we need to deter people from moving here, which I think is disappointing. This is a wonderful country and really has a beautiful mindset for making home here. I mean, that's really truly the premise, the number one premise of Costa Rica. It's not an economically focused country
Yeah.
first. It's a community focused country. And how
Right.
can we take care of the pueblo, as we say, instead of how can we take care of the economy? Because if we can take care of the family here, then the family will take care of the economy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of if we take care of the individual, then we have problems like we see around the world.
Exactly. Yeah, well said. So tell me, what do you guys do for entertainment there? What do you do for adventure entertainment as a family? What do people do in Costa Rica for fun?
Well, my wife is a foodie, and we've definitely found that in
I
the
think
Central Valley.
I'd get along with your wife because I'm a foodie as well.
Yeah.
I
Do you cook?
love food. Love food.
Awesome. Miranda loves food. She is particular to Indian.
Mm.
So we have great Indian restaurants here in the Central Valley. One of our favorite restaurants at Jaguar Negro, the Black Jaguar, is top of the line, really fun experience, and delicious Costa Rican typical food. In the Central Valley, you have great food. The theaters have also started to open. We just went a month ago to the first ballet the country had in over 3 years, and so that really
Wow.
tickled my wife as a former ballerina.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, she studied ballet in Montreal before she got into choreography, and that was her career prior to moving to Costa Rica.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, but then there's also the outdoors. So I just described some entertainment of the Central Valley, the arts, culture, food, definitely present here. But for the adventure, there's phenomenal mountain biking, there's surfing, there's kayaking. I mean, we really have so much adventure to take hold of. A really good website to visit is Que Buen Lugar, or What a Great Place, if you translated that, quebuenlugar.com. And that's basically a map with a whole bunch of pins. They've been a family or a group of friends that have been doing adventures once a week. I think this typically their frequency. and they take a video, they make a description, they say how much it costs. Like some of the national parks, there's a nominal fee for parking and for entry. And other places, it's just, wow, we found this waterfall right off the highway. You got to go check it out. You know, it's totally free. They also talk about the grade of the hike, so medium, difficult, or easy. They also talk about the distance, and if you can take your kids on this, or if this is more of an advanced hike, all the way to like the pinnacle, Chiripo, which is the highest elevation point in Costa Rica on a clear day. And you have to make a reservation in the national park to do this hike. But you can hike all the way up. And if you time it right and you have good weather, you can see the Pacific and the Atlantic coast.
Oh,
Just like you're
wow.
at 360.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Very
incredible.
cool.
Yeah,
Well,
so I mean, there's adventure, there's culture, there's food. What isn't there to do here? Anything that involves cold and a parka, you can leave in North America.
right. Yeah, exactly. It's because the climate's warm year round there.
That's right.
It's warm year round. Okay. All right, cool. So I think we pretty much covered everything, Josh. I mean, is there anything else that you can add that could be beneficial for the viewers about Costa Rica that we didn't cover?
I would suggest if any of your viewers are interested in coming to Costa Rica, and this obviously has to do with your personality trait, but from my perspective, you don't need a plan to come here. You don't need a plan to move your family here. You don't need a plan to come here just backpacking. It's a very safe country. That being said, keep your wits about you and your street smarts, and come for an adventure. But it is what you make of it, right? So it is a developing country. You're going to find the potholes that will bottom out your car. And so just like anything in life, it's a matter of finding the right tools and resources to make that journey more comfortable for you or your loved ones. But also being able to swing with it. And to me, that's the sense of pura vida. Is it's not going to be a perfect life, but paradise is going to be paradise if you make it so.
Mhm.
And really that comes with who you're surrounded by. And the Tico is who I want to be surrounded by. That's the number one reason why our family has decided to make Costa Rica home, is because of the people who are really here, that sense of culture.
Hey, Josh, tell people, the viewers, what Tico means.
Tico is it's a short term for Costa Rican. Tico, I should know. You have my
It's
teacher coming out now.
it's a
I should research.
reference, right? It's a reference of the people of Costa Rica, so they call them Ticos.
It's Yeah, it's a nickname.
It's
It
a
really
nickname.
is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like a Nicaraguan is called a Nica,
Mhm.
Nick or Nica. Costa Rican is called a Tico,
Tico.
Tico or Tica. Um, it's like in Chile. I lived in Chile for 4 years. We were Chilenos.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
Costa
yeah.
Rica, if the formal term is costarricense, but that's a mouthful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So somos ticos. Or I would say soy tico de corazón. I'm Tico or Costa Rican at heart.
Yeah. Heart. Yeah.
There's a beautiful song. I'll send you a link to it. It might be a great intro outro. But it's called Soy Tico. It's written by a Costa Rican. It's a beautiful acoustic and vocal song that describes what it means to be Costa Rican.
Could I
Soy
use it in the
Tico.
video without any copyright issues, or?
Probably.
Yeah, because I'll use it if I can, man. That's for
Try
sure.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a country of 6 million people, and we share everything. So I don't think that it would be a big issue. But I can't speak for the artist or artists. But it's a lovely song, and yeah, it makes me think of the coffee plantations of Sarchi, just northeast of the Central Valley, where there is a very strong coffee culture. If you're a coffee fan, come to Costa Rica. Some of the best black coffee and espresso you can have in Central America is here.
I love coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Joshua Wittman,
Cheers.
he's an incredible father. He reminds me of the movie Captain Fantastic. He's an amazing guy. He's a former educator, and he is the founder of Make Costa Rica Home and buying hotels costarica.com. But if you want to learn more about Costa Rica, go to makecostaricahome.com. We're going to post these links at the end so that people can reach out to you if they need any additional information. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
Pleasure, buddy.
Thanks, Ray.
Yep. You have a great rest of the day.
You too. Cheers.
Bye.